Hi, friends. This week, I get to take part in the largest Pantone art collab on YouTube. I'm so excited. So, if you haven't seen this yet, my friend Christine, Courageous Painting, created this collab to help repair the rainbow bridge between the monster universe and our world. See, artists stopped experimenting with color and the rainbow bridge shattered. So, to fix it, 50 artists are teaming up to experiment with color and bring the magic back. Now, the first color I need to experiment with will be chosen by Christine's assistant, Mike.
Thank you for being so courageous and using your creativity to help restore the monster universe. Mike is ready to pick out your color. Mystery package. Let's start with this box. You got candy pink. Now that you've got your color, it's up to you to use it in any creative project to help restore the rainbow bridge. Mike and I can't wait to see what you create.
Then, the second color will be chosen by me, and I choose Pantone 635. It doesn't have a unique color name, which is kind of sad. Like, come on, what kind of ugly stepchild crap is that? Anyway, these are the two colors that I need to use. And while I can do any kind of project I want, I actually feel like creating some art this week and drawing. So I'm going to do that.
Alright, so I don't know what I want to draw for this because the two colors that I chose, the pink and the blue, made me think of cotton candy. But because this is repairing the rainbow bridge to the monster universe, I kind of wanted to redo that monster that I did before, Ruby. But then I was thinking, what if I do cotton candy and a monster? So maybe I should just do a bunch of different food monsters. I pulled out a bunch of different references of monsters, and I think I'm just going to pick out the parts that I like. First, let's start with some shapes. We could have a round sort of circle monster, and we could have some sort of wide at the bottom monster, like a pear or an avocado. There could be like a wormy shape. What if he's a slimy monster, like a slug? We can have an oval monster. And then one more. It's like a weird shape. How about a little triangle monster? That can be our cotton candy guy. And then she could have like a little curl up here, and she's poofy like that. And then her little legs can be like cotton candy sticks. What should her feet be? We'll come back to that. I do think that it needs to be a girl, so I'm going to give it a bow. Then for the face, like big eyes, some eyelashes, and then a really happy mouth. Or maybe some eyes like here. Oh, Jesus. What are you doing? Eyes here. And then a tiny little mouth. Okay, that's fine for now. It looks like cotton candy. It doesn't look like a monster, but we have more to do. Let's see. What other kind of food monsters? Let's do the slimy one. What if he's like a marshmallow twist? You know those twisty marshmallows? Ooh, but he's melting. He's kind of a gooey little guy. He's like a melty marshmallow guy. And then he's leaving a trail behind him. That looks disgusting. I love it. Then I want him to have some antennae that are like marshmallows on a stick. Then his face. What's a cute marshmallow face? What if he has, instead of, since I always do big eyes, he has the tiniest little beady eyes? And no, but that's kind of funny though. He has like a giant mouth, and it's full of teeth. Okay, I might come back to that one, but that's kind of funny. What else do we got? What if one of them was a cupcake, and he's got like hairy stripes? Because that would look like a cupcake liner. And then he's just gonna have like one eye in the center. Okay, that's not a cute cupcake at all. What if instead of hairy stripes, he had like spots? Like a reptile or something. Okay, I'm not sure about this guy. He might need some more thinking. He looks like a hermit crab shell. What if this guy is made out of bubblegum? And it's got disgusting, like, little chunks of bubblegum hanging off of him. And his legs are like stringy, stretched out gum. Oh, dear Lord. His arms are stringy gum. And then he has 2 bubblegum ears. And his mouth is always like this because he's blowing. He has tiny eyes. What if he has funny eyebrows? What if this one's a gummy bear? How did I draw a gummy bear face before? That looks like a gummy hamster. That's definitely not how I drew a gummy bear. Okay, for some reason, I can't think of how to draw a gummy bear at all. So he's going to have little arms and little gummy legs. That looks like a butt. I really want him to have wings. Maybe one little center antenna. All right, this guy I gotta redo.
20 minutes later.
Okay, so I redid this guy. He's a little phallic shaped now, but he's actually gonna be ice cream. I also fixed some of the faces. This one kills me. This one is also pretty good. I gave this guy some little fangs because I think that's just kind of cute and funny. This guy needs a lot of work. I'm going to redo him kind of sitting with his feet out, so that's why he's a mess. But just ignore that. Now I've got to figure out what medium I want to use. There's colored pencils, there's markers and colored pencils. There's paint markers. There's paint. Tough call. I also need to figure out how they're going to sit on the page because they're all going to be pink and blue. So are they all going to be separate or are they going to like hang out in a group? Thoughts. Gotta think these thoughts. All right, I decided to use this sketchbook because I think that I might use paint markers. And this paper seems to take it okay. I actually think that this might not be a sketchbook at all. Like, it has no information on it, but I'm almost positive that it's a scrapbook album. Either way, I've been using it as a sketchbook. I'm going to turn it this way because I don't want the spiral in my way. Then, I'm actually going to show you the whole process of how I sketch. Not because I think it's super interesting, but I see a lot of comments saying things like, I would love to do that, but I can't draw. And I wanted to show you it's much easier than you think. You don't really need to be able to draw, you just need to be able to edit. So first, I'm just going to break down the page into sections where I want the monsters to just sort of help me keep them where they belong. I'm going to start in the center with my cotton candy monster. Now, obviously, I have a ton of references saved to look at, and first, I'm just going to start with the general loose shape, just to kind of get the vague size of what I want. Then I can move her bottom down so she can have shorter legs, some kind of loose puffball cotton candy feet, and some legs. Then, once I have the shape how I want, I'll go in and refine the actual outline. Like, I'm going to add some lumps around since she's cotton candy. Then I'll extend some of those curves so that we know they go over the other parts. I'm going to draw a couple of light lines down the center and across so that I can attempt to center the face. Draw some big eyes. Her little mouth is going to go right here with some chunky cheeks and one big tooth. Then some really big pupils. And then her little legs that are going to have stripes. Then she'll have kind of puffball feet that match her body. Anything else? She had a bow. But I feel like I want it to be a big bow, like this. Then, to clean all of that up, I'm just going to erase all of the lines that I don't want. Now, this is maybe not the most impressive drawing I've ever done because it's kind of simple, but that's literally how I draw everything that I ever draw. No matter how detailed it is, it just starts with a mess of shapes that I just keep editing and refining until I have it how I like it. If the paper gets too messy, I'll just darken the final lines and then trace it onto a new paper. Since I'm going to use paint markers on this, I'm not too worried about the lines that don't erase completely. Then, when all of the drawings are done and cleaned up, I'm going to use a kneaded eraser to pick up as much of the pencil as I can. I'll still be able to see the lines, but they'll be much lighter.
Now, to paint these in, for some unexplained reason, I decided to use a different set of paint markers for each monster. I have so many different brands of paint markers, and I just couldn't decide which ones I wanted to use. Plus, I didn't want to use the exact same pink and blue for each time, so why not add some weird rule to myself? Also, I'm starting in the upper right corner since I'm left-handed, and this way I shouldn't accidentally put my fat hand in wet paint. I started this gum monster pretty well with my lightest pink for the highlight on the bubble, but since that's basically the candy pink color that I'm supposed to be using, it only gets darker from there. It's also not quite the undertone that I'm looking for, but since it's paint, I just painted back over it with different colors. I think still only the lightest pink is candy pink, but it's on there, so it counts. I do really like the stretchy gum legs. I'm proud of myself for those. I also wanted the gum wads to be a darker pink than the bubble, but since it ended up so dark and I didn't have an even darker pink, I went with red instead. It looks kind of weird, especially the feet, like it looks like weird hair shoes, but he's not really giving bubblegum vibes anyway. I added a bit more shading here and there, and then a black outline around everything since these are a pretty cartoony style. I made it a thick black outline because I can't keep it even to save my life. The face really sort of saved this monster because I still think it's hilarious. I added a few last little highlights and touch-ups, and this one is done. Her name is Issa. For this gummy monster, I'm hoping to do a better job than the last time that I tried to do a gummy effect, but I think by sticking to all the same color, I have a better chance. Plus, I'm studying my references really hard. I'm also going to try to stay with lighter pinks for the whole monster, because luckily, this marker set has a lot more options. After the initial shading and highlighting, I went back in with even darker and lighter colors, and I'm really liking how this is looking. For the wings, the idea is based on this reference, but I'm going for a much quicker and easier sort of method. Just very loosely based on a true story. But I was able to bring in some of that unnamed blue. I bet you thought I forgot about that, didn't you? Either way, I like these wings. I gave her a little blue pilot light, and then the black outline. She has a sort of weird, buggy, berry face, and after a few little highlights, may I now introduce you to Tia. Next, we have the inspiration for the whole club, the cotton candy monster, who will be named Anna, apparently. I started with a base blue and pink, which are probably the closest to the Pantone colors chosen. Then I added some shadows, but not in that color. There, that's better. Then I added in even more pink shadows, and then some shading on the legs and the bow. Ooh, I love a good bow. Let's throw on those black outlines, and then add the face. I just love this little mouth so much. It's so darn cute. I'll fill in those soulless eyes, but then I'll add some eyelashes and some eye shinies. And Anna is done. Moving right on to this ice cream friend, and I had originally planned for her to be pink on top, but since I've been really neglecting the blue so far, I switched it and made her ears and legs pink. She's really looking a bit bebop coated right now. Adding these ice cream lines was my favorite part of this one. She also has some insanely large eyes, a tuft of chocolate syrup hair, and a sweet little happy mouth. When I outlined her, I gave her some cute little toesies. And my new favorite eye style, these little twinkly galaxy-ish highlights. I did add a few other highlights to her, but they kind of got lost a bit. Oh well. And this one is named Deepa. Last is the Marshmallow Slug Monster. The marker set that I used for this one is pretty old and it was pretty cheap to begin with, so they're a little sad to watch. They should honestly probably be tossed because they're neither juicy nor particularly fine-tipped anymore. But eventually, after a few coats, we get there. I added the little slime sauce in a sort of gray-blue, and then I went back in and added the shadows on each twisty section. I don't know that they actually make any sense, but I was following a reference, so it's not my fault. Next was, you guessed it, the outlines. Then this funny, fangy face, and some highlights that probably also don't make any sense. And this one is my favorite name that has ever been named. Ick. Yes, you heard me right. This monster is named Ick. Okay, now that those are all done and hopefully brought a tiny bit of magic back to help fix the Rainbow Bridge, it's time for me to introduce the next artist to take up this challenge. And that is none other than Sarah of So Craftastic. I love Sarah. She has such a cute and whimsical style, and I just adore her. Sarah and I were actually back-to-back in another giant collab too. Make sure to keep an eye on her channel for that video in a couple of weeks. And once again, thank you so much to Christine for inviting me to be a part of this collab. I will link the entire Pantone Challenge playlist at the end of this video and in the description box. So what do you think? Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.